chilling story of Britain's most dangerous killer, Hannibal the Cannibal, who tortured and killed fellow inmates. Britain's most dangerous prisoner has purportedly been moved to another facility. A man reported to be the UK's longest serving inmate is also known as Britain's most dangerous prisoner. Robert Maudsley is responsible for holding two of the scariest nicknames in the British prison system. The 71-year-old was found in solitary confinement in HMP Wakefield since 1983, which makes it a whopping 42 years after murdering a total of 4 people, with 3 of those being other prison inmates. This led the decision to place him in confinement, as Maudsley was considered too dangerous to be housed in a mainstream prison, and insights into his day-to-day life have been released over the years. However, Maudsley's story before his imprisonment has sparked some interest as well, as his upbringing is said to have been troubled. As with most serial killers and violent criminals, there is usually a pattern there that leads to them becoming the person that they eventually end up becoming. It makes you wonder, like, if they were never bullied, if they were never abused by their parents or parents in any sort of way, would that have had an impact on their lives growing up? Or would that have actually had no impact whatsoever and the outcome would have always been the same? Maybe just me, maybe I'm just crazy, who knows. Discovery here, Robert Maudsley's nephew apparently gave an interview. I say apparently, it's very true right here, you can see it in front of you. But he gave an interview on his serial killer uncle with Channel 5, which is a free channel over here in the UK. I might actually give it a watch if I can find it on the Channel 5 app. Maudsley was born in Liverpool 1953 and spent his early years growing up in a Catholic orphanage alongside his 3 siblings. The children were briefly returned to the care of their parents before being removed once again due to physical abuse from their father. Maudsley would go on to claim abuse from his parents, which caused psychological scars. He later then moved to London and worked as a sex worker in the 60s, which is where he encountered his first victim, a client of his named John Fell. He had garroted him, basically killed him, after Fell received images of children he had sexually abused. 3 years later, Maudsley and another prisoner tortured and killed child molester David Francis in Broadmoor Hospital, which earned him the nickname Hannibal the Cannibal, after Maudsley was accused of driving a spoon into his brain. The cannibal allegations turned out to be false. However, the cannibal allegations turned out to be false. But following the killing, Maudsley was sent to HMP Wakefield after being convicted of manslaughter. He would undergo another killing spree in 1978. This time his targets were Salney Darwood and William Roberts, later confessing to the on-duty officer by saying they would be 2 people short at the next roll call. Maudsley was then convicted of double murder and then later was sent to solitary confinement in Wakefield, where he remained for decades. The infamous prison is nicknamed Monster Mansion due to the large number of high-risk violent criminals, murderers and sex offenders. Criminals who have passed through Wakefield's corridors include serial killer Harold Shipman, don't know him, Charles Bronson, I think we all pretty much know who he is, and disgraced Lost Prophets singer Ian Watkins. Maudsley was considered such a high risk to other prisoners that a specially developed cell was built for him in 1983. You know you're special when you got your own sort of cell built for you in prison. Like, not many prisoners can say they had their own cell built for them. And by special, I mean completely fucked up. Measuring 8 foot by 14 foot and housed in the prison's basement, Maudsley's cell resembles that of Hannibal Lecter's in 1991's film The Silence of the Lambs. Great movie. which also happened to be played by great Welsh actor Anthony Hopkins. However, reports suggest he was transferred to HMP Whitmore in Cambridgeshire in March, another Category A facility. He is said to be held at a therapeutic unit designed for prisoners with personality disorders. This is definitely a fascinating piece of intel, especially when you're first discovering it for the first time. One piece of information I'm very curious by was his other siblings. What were their lives growing up? Did they also suffer abuse from their father, or was it just Robert that suffered this abuse? Now we know, thanks to the mention of the Channel 5 interview, that one of his siblings did end up having a kid of his own, which was obviously the nephew who gave the interview to Channel 5 about Robert Maudsley. What was their relationship like growing up as kids? Were they close? Were they quite distant? Both Robert and his siblings did end up growing up in an orphanage, so I would imagine if they were together, they would have probably struck quite a strong, close bond, by sticking together and keeping each other safe and looking after one another. But again, maybe that wasn't the case at all. Maybe it was the complete opposite of all of that. But with that being said, please let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think of this story? Did you find it interesting? Have you heard of this story before? Please share your feelings down below. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.